Tonight, the beat goes to court. A special report. Russia on trial, debating the evidence of collusion. On location at the moot court in John Jay College of Criminal Justice, where former prosecutor Renato Mariotti and defense attorney Alan Dershowitz present both sides of the Trump-Russia controversy to a live mock jury. Now to tonight's host, MSNBC chief legal correspondent, Ari Melber.
Hi, I'm Ari Melbourne. Welcome to a very special edition of The Beat. We are at the moot courtroom here at John Jay College of Criminal Justice at the City University of New York. And this moot courtroom, like a real courtroom, has places for the lawyers on both sides, place for the judge, of course, a witness stand. All of this is part of what we're going to do today, which is test some of the legal arguments in the Russia probe. We even have a jury. I'll speak about that in a moment. Everything in the Russia probe under Bob Mueller up to this point has involved a grand jury, 12 to 25 people gathered in Washington making decisions about the case, but it's all secret. What's changed now with two indictments, two trials coming, maybe more, is that there will be a public jury and a public process to test some of these arguments. Now, today, we are not going to have a full trial simulation. We're not going to have a judge. We're not going to have rules of evidence or ask for a verdict to be rendered. But we are going to explore some of these key legal arguments because they will ultimately be tested, some of them, in a public court. Let me speak to our jury, which are students from this college, John Jay. All I'm going to ask you to do, like any jury would be asked, is to keep an open mind about the arguments you hear today. Now, in the public realm, there's a lot of talk about the word collusion. But what you're going to be asked to assess are two types of arguments. Was there a conspiracy between the Donald Trump campaign and Russia to impact the election? And if there was, did it go to the top, to the candidate? You'll notice that legal set of questions is different from the word we hear most often in public, collusion.
The entire thing has been a witch hunt, and there is no collusion between certainly myself and my campaign.
I still maintain that there is evidence of collusion.
I was there. It's a total and complete farce. Russian collusion is a farce.
Okay. There is evidence of collusion.
It's literally found zero evidence of collusion between the Trump campaign and Russia.
The issue of collusion is still open.
I believe there was collusion.
I did not collude with Russia, nor do I know of anyone else in the campaign who did so.
Yes, there was collusion.
I am truly not involved in any form of collusion with Russia, believe me.
And now to the arguments. We have two of the preeminent lawyers to test out some of these ideas in the case today. Renato Mariotti is a former federal prosecutor. He's done over 100 prosecution cases, and he's currently a candidate for attorney general in Illinois. And Alan Dershowitz is one of the most preeminent criminal defense attorneys in the country, having tried over 200 cases, and he's the author of Trumped Up: How the Criminalization of Political Differences Endangers Democracy. Each person will have 4 minutes to present their side of the case. Renato Mariotti, for the prosecution arguments, goes first.
Thank you. 1 year ago, we were attacked by the Russian government. All of us were the victims. You will hear from a representative of the Department of Homeland Security who will tell you that 21 states had their voting systems penetrated by the Russian government. You will also hear from the heads of 4 intelligence agencies, including the FBI, the CIA, and the NSA, who will tell you that they have concluded that the Russian government was mounting an influence operation to undermine our election. You will see for yourselves the messages that were paid for by the Russian government, messages that sought to pit people in the United States against each other to weaken us, messages where they sought to bring opposing groups together in the same spot to foment violence and conflict, messages that sought to encourage people to secede from the United States, and messages that supported their candidate of choice, Donald Trump. You will hear from those intelligence heads that Donald Trump was the favored candidate of the Russian government. Now, ladies and gentlemen, what you may not know is that when foreign governments or foreign individuals contribute to a United States election, that is a federal crime. And it's also a federal crime when two people agree to commit a crime or agree to be part of a crime. That is called conspiracy. Conspiracy is just a fancy legal word for agreeing to commit a crime. Here, you will hear not only the evidence I told you about a crime being committed in the United States, the involvement of a foreign power in our election, a crime for which there can be no serious question. But you will also hear evidence that individuals, officials in the Russian campaign were involved in that effort. That evidence will prove to you that those individuals were part of an agreement to have Russian involvement in our election. And that is why the United States has charged those officials with conspiring to obtain a foreign contribution in connection with an election here in the United States. So what will that evidence be? I'd like to spend the next minute walking through that evidence with you. You will hear that the Russians had someone at the top, a man named Paul Manafort, co-chair of the campaign, who was trading influence with a Russian oligarch. You will also hear the testimony of a man named George Papadopoulos, who is cooperating with the United States. He will testify that he was receiving messages from individuals connected with the Russian government who told him that they had dirt on Hillary Clinton. And he will tell you that when he communicated that to his supervisor, Sam Clovis, another co-chair of the Trump campaign, that Mr. Clovis suggested that they send someone low-level to Russia to communicate with the Russian government. And who did they send? A man named Carter Page, who will testify that he traveled to Russia and he met and interacted with individuals in the Russian government. You will also hear that the president's son, Donald Trump Jr., met with a representative of the Russian government. She came and she offered dirt on Hillary Clinton, emails on Hillary Clinton, and you will also hear that in the same conversation, he told her that they would reconsider their sanctions against the Russian government. You will also see evidence of messages between him and WikiLeaks, which is connected with the Russian government, a foreign intelligence service. All of that evidence taken together will prove that there is a conspiracy to involve the Russian government in our election, and I will ask you at the end of this trial to return a verdict of guilty on all counts.